An entertainer from the beginning.
I always wanted to be that Chuck Liddell and that Chris Lieben in the heart. Like, I was
Right.
like, that's what
Chris
I wanted to
Lieben,
do.
yeah.
I'm like, cool, you can hit me, but I'm gonna try and hit you harder. And then my fourth kickboxing fight was my very first finish. I remember smiling ear to ear when I saw him just lay there, and I was like, this is it. This is what I like to do to people.
Yeah.
And I'm not even a violent person. That's what people don't understand. I was like, I'm not violent, but if I could flatline you, I'm gonna enjoy it.
This is the Prize Fighting Business. I'm your host, Daniel Caycedo, and today my interview guest is professional mixed martial artist and prize fighter, Randy Quakes Rowland. Randy sat down with me ahead of his upcoming fight on February 15th in Salt Lake City, Utah for the Fierce Fighting Championship promotion. This will be their first all-pro card, and Randy had a conversation with me about what this fight means for him, his prize fighting journey up to this point, and what's next from here. So let's dive into my conversation with Randy Rowland. Well, Randy, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So you're getting ready for your next fight. That's going to be at Fierce Fighting Championship. What do you know about your opponent?
I'm fighting, his name's Trevor Bradshaw. He's 3-8, I believe.
Local guy.
Local Utah boy. Big local Utah boy, you know. He's coming down from 170 pounds. He's fought at 85 before.
Wow.
All my fights have been at 45, so.
What is this going to be at?
This is going to be at the Maverick Center in Salt Lake City.
At lightweight, though?
At lightweight, cool. 155 pounds,
cool.
Thankfully, because I don't have to cut that extra 10 pounds, which is always nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of your fights have been at featherweight, then?
Yeah. I think I've had 3 or 4 fights at 55.
Okay.
And then the last 22 of them have all been at 45, so, you know.
But it's a tough cut, you're saying. You don't really want to do that.
Yeah, I don't really want to tell people that, but yeah, it's usually tough.
Sure.
I keep telling people, I'm like, all right, if this cut's going to be bad, we're going to bump up to 55.
Yeah.
Smoothest cut I've ever had was my last fight, and I was like,
of course.
All right, so we'll stay at 45. And then I talked to Cody Bunderson, the matchmaker / owner of Fierce Fighting. I was like, hey, I heard you guys got a fight at the Maverick Center. And he's like, you want to get in a fist fight? I'm like, well, yeah, of course I want to get in a fist fight. And he's like, 45 or 55? And I was like, you pick. And he came to me with this Trevor Bradshaw kid. And I was like, looked him up. I was like, what weight are we fighting at? Like 70? That's fine. He's like, nah, 55. So, you know.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, good. It's making him work a little bit. He'll have to drop a significant amount of weight if he's coming from 85 to 70 to 55 his first time there. So that's good for you. And like you said, this is going to be in a big arena. So that's exciting. And you mentioned this was the first time. You mentioned off camera that this is the first time they're going to have an all-pro card for Fierce Fighting Championship.
Yeah. They're doing it big this time. They're renting out the Maverick Center, which is a huge place.
Cool.
And they're trying to get all their local big-name pros on their card, so everybody could come, and it's just an honor for me to even be a part of the show. You know, I get to fight with a lot of friends that I've made actually after fighting them, and the main event is huge. It's a 145-pound matchup against the kid that I just lost to, Samson. Can't say his last name.
Yeah.
Hard last name against Bobby King.
Yeah.
You know. And
oh wow. Cool.
It's a huge main event.
Yeah, that's a big fight.
And then there's a lot of local talent on that show.
Neat.
We got Mike Jones fighting a UFC vet from Utah, so
cool.
It's a fun time.
And you're becoming familiar with the Utah fans. I mean, you fought for Fierce a few times now. How many fights have you had with the promotion?
Yeah, hopefully. I'm trying to get them to adopt me, but I think this is my 5th or 6th fight with them.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So the crowd there will generally, know who you are at the very least, and even though you're fighting a Utah local, maybe you'll get some fans there cheering for you.
I hope so. You know, you can never tell just coming into enemy territory.
Right.
But everybody that I've met there has always been super nice before and after the fight. I've never been booed.
Nice.
And that's even after knocking some of their people out, and they're still like cheering and stuff. I'm like, oh. Cool.
Yeah, which brings up a good point of your four wins. All 4 have been by knockout finish, early finish. So, I mean, That's a pretty cool stat to be able to boast about.
Right? This is gonna be my 10th pro fight. I'm 4-4 in MMA and 1-0 in Thai boxing.
Cool. Okay. Where'd you do your Thai boxing match?
Here for Sparta.
Nice.
Yeah, I got to fight Joey Banks for that one,
Cool.
and I don't really want to remember that at all.
He's a bang Muay Thai guy?
Ooh, that was the worst fight I've ever had.
Really? But you came out on top.
Weirdly enough, I did. Oh, man, that was a fight to remember. I still hear about that one.
What in particular?
He hit me with everything that he had. Everything. He was spinning, everything that he landed. He dropped me 2 times, shattered my nose in 3 places. And I was ready to quit. I was ready. Like, I was just looking like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
But my body was like, nope, we're standing back up. And I was like, okay. And then finished it. And I was like,
how'd you finish it?
Knocked him out.
Nice. Just hands or what?
Let's see. I threw a combination. He bounced off the cage. And as soon as he stepped forward, I stepped forward, and I threw him with the right elbow. Dropped him.
Cool.
He couldn't answer the count. So
hey, that's a good way to finish it.
I try. Like, Joey, if you're listening, one of the toughest fights I've ever had. And
cool.
It was a pain.
Well, this fight coming up, it's February 15th.
Yep.
So let's see, it's pretty much about a month away from today or so. So what does camp look like so far? I mean, or how long has it been? Where are you working?
I'm never really out of camp. I'm always training all year round. Don't really change anything. I'll start sparring a little bit more, and I'll up looks and stuff. And start going with bigger people since I'm fighting somebody that's coming down a weight class. But other than that, everything's usually always the same. I like to keep it real simple, real easy. Like, I'll train hard, but I never like to be like, all right, I like to train easy, and then I got to fight. I got to ramp stuff up. It's always like on a playing level, and I'm just like cool, and then it's always fight time.
Nice. Yeah. So you're down in Easton Centennial?
Yep. Okay. I got Valor as my main coach, and then I bounce around from Easton to Easton. I do my jiu-jitsu over at Easton Centennial, and then I'll take Sean Madden's class on Monday nights over at Easton's Denver.
Cool.
And then I'll go to Christian's class Wednesdays at High Altitude. And it just depends on the mood and what classes. And then I'll spar with the elevation team on Tuesday afternoons. I'll take off work and go get in my work there and get beat up a little bit.
Yeah, nice. I mean, and that's a lot of diverse looks. You're getting, jiu-jitsu with Valor. He's a black belt. You're going to Sean Madden's class. He's more technical Muay Thai orientation. And then Christian is, kind of that MMA striking, likes to switch stances a lot. So it's a lot of different looks that you're getting.
Yeah.
And then working with the elevation team, I mean, a room full of killers there as far as everywhere from amateur up to pro is looking to fight at the highest level.
Yeah, it's no joke over there. It's nothing but fun, nothing but respect. But every time I walk in there, I'm like, all right, it's going to be a good day. Yeah. And then I'll walk out of there like, what? Why? Why did I have to come here today? Like, but yeah, I got Sean's. I get looks from Sean. I get looks from Christian. Valor shows me some stuff, and I'm finally trying to make, because I have my own special style. Been training for 9 or 10 years now. Nice. And then I created my own style, and then it was all with one team. And then moving over to Easton's, I was like, all right, let's see what I could pick up now. And now I'm just blending everything in together and just trying to be a whole new me.
And in MMA, that seems to be kind of the key. You just got to figure out your own style. Take what works for you, leave what doesn't, and like you said, create a new you and see how far you can go with it. So you'll be looking for your 5th MMA win. You've got this Muay Thai fight as well, so clearly a striking orientation. Yeah. Do you like to go to the ground, or do you try to keep it standing on the feet?
It's no joke. I like to bang.
Yeah.
It's no joke. I like to try and knock you out. If
Absolutely.
we go to the ground, I'll try and submit you, but I'm trying to give the crowd what they want to see, and everybody knows the crowd wants to see knockouts.
Of course.
Even if that means I get my head bounced off the mat, somebody has to be put to sleep. I don't like getting held. I don't like shooting for takedowns. If you do, cool. If you can't take me down or I can't take you down, we're going to break and we're going to bang. And hopefully somebody goes to sleep.
Absolutely. And what if they take you down? Do you get back up, or are you just working from there?
I try. It just depends. My last opponent really knew how to use his backpack well, and he was a purple belt in jiu-jitsu and just did nothing for 3 years but jiu-jitsu. And, you know, we knew that coming in, but he was also a kickboxing champion too. He won one of the world, like, amateur tournaments.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, cool. Like, he's going to try and bang with me at least 2 minutes out of the entire fight.
Right.
Came out straight up, tried shooting right away, and I was like, oh.
That kind of night.
All right. He even did an interview. He was like, yeah, I was just trying to play it safe.
Sure.
I wanted to fight for LFA. The month after our fight, he's like, yeah, I want to fight for LFA, so I had to play it safe. I was like, kudos to you, but if you take me down, you're probably going to get elbowed or submitted. Yeah. Or I'm going to stand back up and we're going to try and knock each other's heads off again.
Oh, yeah. Cool. So that's kind of the training into things. You're going to these different gyms within the Easton family, getting those looks, training with elevation for the sparring days. Are you training one day hard sparring, or do you do any light sparring in there too?
It's just usually one hard day of hard sparring / light sparring, just depending on your partner and where they're at in camps and stuff like that. But like, I've talked to Valor about this. Like, the way that I fight, I like to say it's like the Gaethje style, where you're just standing toe to toe and to see who could hurt each other the worst.
Yeah.
And Valor's like, yeah, your brain doesn't need to be sparring all the time, because that's fair. At my old gym, we were sparring 2 or 3 times a week, like 2 light sparrings and a hard sparring. But those light sparrings become hard sparring, so it was like a fist fight every week. I'm getting older, brain's not that great anymore, so.
And at this point in your career, you know what it's like to fight anyway. I mean, you've had an amateur career, you've had a pro career, you fought a Muay Thai bout. I mean, you understand what the speed's going to be like. So you just need to sparring more for getting the looks and kind of getting up to that game speed, for lack of a better phrase, when the fight's getting closer.
Yeah, after my last fight, I took a month or so off of sparring. And the very first time, like the very first 3 weeks I came back to sparring, my timing was so off.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right. We'll spar every week again. We'll start getting that timing back. And the only time that I'll ever really take off the sparring again is if I'm hurt. Sure. Which I don't tell anybody I'm ever hurt. So it's always a toss-up.
Yeah. And you're doing all this while balancing a full-time job.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm working 8-9 hour days and then trying to train on top of that for a couple hours a night. Yeah. Yeah. It's a roller coaster, but worth it.
Absolutely. It's a journey.
Yeah.
So you've got this fight coming up February 15th. You're working with these 3 different gyms, essentially, getting your looks in. What does it look like for recovery? I mean, how do you wind down after a 9-hour day plus, 2-3 hours of training? What does it look like in the evening?
Don't have really much downtime. As soon as I get home, I'm like, all right, we can eat, we can shower, and then it's usually like already 11 o'clock, and I have to be up the next day at 5, so I'm like, do I want to like watch videos or anything, or do I just want to go straight to sleep? So I don't really get much downtime, but usually when I do, it's just to relax, like I'll go for a walk or go watch a movie, go play with my little puppy.
Get your mind off it more than anything, relax the body.
Yeah, I'm not the one that always think about fights.
Sure.
Like when they came to me about this fight, I didn't even worry. I was like, oh, cool, there's a name, Valor, here's the name. And I already said yes to Valor. I'm like, oh, we could take this. He came back to me and saying like, yeah. I sent it to Cody. I was like, yeah, we're in. And then I finally looked up the dude and I was like, oh, all right. I have a bad habit of even signing contracts without even reading them.
Sure.
It's not a good thing.
Well, it's bred into us with all those tech contracts and stuff now.
And it's just, yeah, if you want me to sign something, you just got to put it in front of me. And I'm like, all right, let's go.
Well, and this guy, I mean, he's at least, it looks like on paper, going to embrace the same style that you like, that stand and bang type style. He's got 3 wins, all by knockout. Your 4 wins are all by knockout. So, I mean, both you guys are looking to do the same thing, ideally.
Yeah, it was Cody. When Cody first brought this fight to me, he was like, he's a brawler. You're going to like it. I'm like, okay, like, you just got to tell me a fight, and that's it. Like, you don't have to tell me his style. I don't care. Right. But if he wants to bang with me, let's bang.
So you focus more on you. I mean, you and your skills more than you're worried about the opponent is.
Yeah, like, whatever he wants to bring, cool.
Sure.
It comes down to if I could take a punch or if you could take a punch.
Right.
Am I going to hit harder or are you going to hit harder?
Right.
Am I going to be more skilled or are you going to be more skilled?
Yeah.
I don't worry about what they're going to do. as much as what I want to do.
Sure.
Because as soon as I start worrying about what they're going to do, then I'm in their head, and then I'm just like thinking about what they're doing, and then my reaction time's off. I've done that too many times in fights, and it didn't well.
Yeah. So you want to focus more on what you're doing, implement your game plan, and just take it from there, adapt if need be during the rounds.
Yeah.
Cool.
If it goes rounds, like, honestly, I hope it's done the first exchange.
Sure.
We both get out of there and just watch the rest of the great card.
Yeah. So how do you work on your striking? I know you mentioned that you go to these 3 different gyms and work with these 2 individuals, Sean and Christian specifically. Yeah. But how do you? I mean, is that like pad work? Is that drilling with partners? What does it look like for you training?
At Sean's class, it's pad work and partners.
Okay.
So I'll hit pads with my good friend Lockhart.
Yeah.
We'll hold pads for each other during the class, and then we'll partner up and drill some stuff. And then mainly during that class, I'll start to think about what I want to do in this fight. And then I'll start working it on the pads and then when we're drilling and stuff. And then Christian's class is just all MMA striking, all movement stuff. So, again, Lockhart's my partner. And I'll try and implement what Christian likes to do with my style. And I'll try and move the way that Christian wants me to move, but at the same time still staying right in your face and being like, all right, let's see who hits harder type style.
So whereas some people use footwork to kind of create distance, you want to use the footwork to more cut off the cage and stay in your opponent's face by switching angles and making sure it's a constant slugfest.
Yeah, a long time ago, back with my old coach, he told me to make it an illusion to where if I'm not in striking range, I got to use something to make you believe that I'm still not in striking range. But as soon as I want to let one go, I can hit you like that.
And that comes from keeping that pressure and then just taking a half step back. Your opponent maybe thinks it's a breather, but you're hitting that angle to get back in there quickly.
Always trying to set traps.
Cool.
I'm trying to get you to run into something. Don't be listening. If we ever have to fight, don't listen to that. But I'm always looking, always trying to adapt to something. There's some few things that I've been trying that I've really liked, and it's like everything else. When you train, there's always something that you're gonna like, and there's something that you're not gonna like. But you gotta try both of them and weave it out. So,
Nice. What about diet and nutrition? I mean, you go home, after this long day. I assume you find time for lunch as well. What does it look like for you, like a normal meal during camp specifically?
Right now, since I'm fighting at 55, I get to be fat.
All right. Eat whatever you want.
I'm just kidding. It's still a tough cut, even at 55.
Sure.
People say I'm a big 45er, an average 55er, but
where do you walk around at normally?
It's a personal question.
All right.
75 to 80.
Okay.
Depending. Sometimes I'll hit 85 every once in a while. But, But I work with Max Muscle on my nutrition.
Nice.
Megan Casey's my nutritionist. And she's been there since my first pro fight.
Oh,
so
wow.
that was 4 or 5 years ago.
Cool.
So we've got each other down to where in the mornings I'll have a protein shake and some eggs or oatmeal. And then I'll work, and then I bring my lunch to work, and then it'll be like yogurt and some other stuff with some protein, and I'll eat 6 times a day.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So you're controlling the diet. I mean, you're bringing everything. You know what you're going to eat that day.
Yeah.
And it sounds like staying pretty lean as far as the intake. I mean, not really eating a lot of bread in there from the sounds of it.
Yeah, I try not to, especially if I'm going to 45.
Right.
About 6 weeks out, I'll start cutting a lot of stuff out.
6 weeks out? Okay.
6 weeks out.
Wow.
I have to, for me to make 45 easily and safely,
right,
I need like an 8-week count.
Okay.
Those first 2 weeks are trying to get my body down to in the 60s, and then after that, it's like, Megan, I'm still around 69 right now. And she's like, all right, cut this out. I'll cut it out. I'll get down to 65. We got 6 weeks left. I'm like, oh, this isn't going to be fun, is it? She's like, no, it's not. It's really not.
So what is the last amount that you usually have to cut?
This last one to 45, or most of them to 45, I'll wake up the week of the fight about 8 pounds out.
Oh, okay.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, that's not bad.
But I'm still training, I'm still eating, and then the day of weigh-ins, or the day, because I could usually cut most of the weight the day before weigh-ins,
right?
Just so I will wake up, chill, and only have like 45-minute sauna session or a
Yeah.
bath session. I'll cut about 13 pounds the day before weigh-ins.
Wow, so is that, I mean, are you water loading that week, or is that just straight cutting out calories and sweating?
It's more water,
Okay.
but I still eat. Like, I eat a lot. Like, there's no joke. I like to eat.
Yeah.
But that week, Monday, I'll drink a gallon and a half of water. I'll eat regular. I'll eat my 6 meals. And then Tuesday, gallon of water. I'll start eating 5 meals, but less portions. And say if I'm fighting on Saturday, so I have to weigh on Friday. Wednesday, I'll drink another gallon, cut out another meal, so I only have 4.
Okay.
And then the day before weigh-ins, I'll drink a half a gallon, but I'll only eat like some pineapple and some eggs.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's just we're just gonna cut as much water as we possibly can.
And do you like to do that like running, working out, or do you like to do it more in the sauna, sweat suited up?
The time leading up to it, I'll start running and I'll hit pads and stuff like that. The day before weigh-ins, where it's time to actually start making that descent to 45,
Yeah.
I can't move.
Yeah.
I have to either be in a bath or a sauna.
Ooh, baths. That's rough.
It is rough. It is rough. It's also easy because I could breathe.
Sure.
But yeah, this last one was easy. The one before that, scared Lockhart. He's never cut weight with me before, and he's never seen me actually have to cut weight to 45. So we went to 24. We were about to leave to Utah like 2 days before we were leaving 2 days before, or we were leaving 2 days after this to Utah.
Sure.
So we were like, all right, let's go to 24, and we started getting some of this water off. Got in the sauna. As soon as he saw me, like, because I took off my shirt, put the sweet sweat on, he saw my spine sticking out. He's like, oh. I'm like, yeah, we're fine. So anyway, we cut that day, those 2 days, and then we got to Utah, and it was time to make the final descent. I still had 12 pounds to cut.
Whew.
So this was the first sauna that I've actually used, because, I have all, like, the new saunas are, like, the infrared. Like,
Yeah.
they're not, like, the actual heat saunas.
Right.
So Utah, there's nothing like that. Like, it's all the old school way.
Pour the water on.
Yeah. So I was sitting in there, and it was about 180 degrees, and I was sweating, but then I started shivering.
Oh, wow.
And Lockhart noticed me. Like, I was, like, shivering, like, why is it so cold in here?
Damn.
Got out.
So has your body stopped sweating at this point?
My body was ready to quit.
Yeah.
I was like, uh-oh. We were only in there for maybe an hour.
Yeah, I mean, that's a sign of heat exhaustion, right?
So we got out, rested. I got back in. As soon as I got in, I started shivering again, like, what's going on? Lockhart starts freaking out. He's like, oh, my God, like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? I'm like, just take it easy. We'll check after this one. So got out again, laid down, rested for 5 minutes, went to go check, and I was at 46. And I was like, all right, good. Lockhart's like, we're going to go back in? I'm like, bro, we have an entire day tomorrow. Like,
Yeah.
I can't see straight. Like, let's go back to our hotel.
But the idea would be to cut lower so that you can then kind of eat and drink.
Yeah.
Not worry about it.
I'm already agitated as is, just
Right.
because I've cut from 80 to
Oh, I can
45,
imagine.
so I'm already
Hangry.
agitated. So what I like to do is cut as much as I can the day before I have to weigh in,
Mm-hmm.
just so I can rest. And,
Yeah.
If I need a drink of water, I could take a drink of water. Because I've done cuts before where the day of weigh-ins, I've done 7 to 8 hour sauna sessions.
Oof.
And those weren't pretty at all.
Yeah.
So I learned my lesson, 25 fights deep. Like, gotta learn somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Experience is the best way.
Yeah.
So 46, though, I mean, that's essentially on weight, right? Like, you could be 46 for a 45 fight?
Depends on where you are.
Okay.
I think Colorado's the only place where you have to have, they only give you that 0.8 allowance.
Gotcha.
Everywhere else is usually a pound.
Yeah. Okay. Huh. So, I mean, you ended up making weight for that fight, though?
Yeah, I think I weighed 45.
Nice.
Yeah. I had to do 3 more bass sessions the day of weigh-ins just to be able to make it, but yeah,
Wow.
made it.
Nice. So I mean, this fight coming up, it's going to be your 10th pro fight, your 9th MMA fight. I mean, what do you see from here? Like, what is it that you would want after this fight? Do you want to keep fighting for Fierce? Is this something that you're using as a stepping stone? Like, what do you imagine?
Believe it or not, I got 25 fights, pro and ami, all mixed,
That's
right?
a lot.
I've never fought for LFA.
Really?
Never fought. All my, I want to say 19. Yeah, I think 19 of my fights have all been for Sparta.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They posted something a while ago about me making history with being the only fighter to have 19 fights with just them.
Well, they're active. They got cards all the time.
They were getting me on 5-6 times a year, which was
Wow.
awesome. But yeah, I've never fought for LFA. So if this one goes well, hopefully LFA wants to give me a shot.
Yeah.
If not, that's fine. You know, there's so many other options.
Yeah.
Fierce loves me out there. I can't wait to make my homecoming back here. It's been 3 or 4 years since I fought back here in Colorado.
Oh, wow. All right.
You
So
know,
you're almost a hometown fighter in Utah at this point.
Yeah. Can't wait for them to adopt me finally, but you know. Yeah. If LFA doesn't work out, then hopefully I could get back on the card out here, you know, really. Because I know everybody misses the style that I bring out here. And yeah, everybody wants exciting fights. These days, it doesn't seem like anybody wants an exciting fight. They want to play that safe fight so they can get that LFA contract so they can make the big shows.
Right.
Me, I'm the opposite. If you want to see a fight, come watch me fight.
You're in the entertainment business. Put on a show.
We're going to bang.
Yeah.
All right. If you knock me out, congratulations. If I knock you out, congratulations. But I want to earn my spot. I don't want to play it safe, lay and pray, or do what I like. Play it safe to where I win a fight so a bigger organization could come see me and be like, oh, yeah, like he's on this so-and-so win streak. No. If they're going to recognize me, they're going to be like, cool, like this kid comes to bang every single time.
Yeah, that's what's up. I would imagine promoters like that.
Yeah. And that's what I do, you know. I told Lockhart the other day, one of my best friends is he's like, what do you want your legacy to be? I was like, I thought about it for a long time. And then finally hit me. I'm like, that Cerrone, that Gaethje legacy where you know that it's going to be a fight. Every time you see their names on a card or on an undercard or whatever, like you hear their name, you know that they're going to come and entertain. And I have so much respect for people like that and fighters like that will put it all out there just to entertain and because they love to do it like that.
Absolutely. So you're 25 fights into your career, like you said, between amateur and pro, 8-9 years into this. So take me back to kind of when it all started. When did you first step into a martial arts gym?
So that's a funny story. So me and Brian Camozzi all went to high school together. Like a lot of us went to high school together. If you guys don't know who Brian Camozzi is, the ex-UFC fighter.
Over at Factory X. Yeah.
LFA, or was it? No, or is it?
RFA.
Yeah, RFA, 170-pound champion. Me and him used to be friends back in high school. Still friends now. But he knew that I was into fighting. I knew he was into fighting. And he had his first kickboxing fight coming up. And I saw it, and I was like, hey, bro, like, let me buy a ticket. And, you know, maybe we could, like, start training together and stuff like that. I'll come down to the gym. So I saw him, his first kickboxing fight. And then a couple days later, he texted me like, hey, do you want to come train with, like, down at Factory X? And I was like, sure, I'll give it a shot.
And at this point, you had no experience before in a gym?
I've never even been in a street fight.
Okay, so your first aspect of martial arts that you're kind of diving into is at Factory X, where you know they've got a room full of killers there too.
So you know, went to my first class, fell in love instantly. I was like, this is everything that I saw. Because when I very first started following them, like I was like, I want to do that. Was the Tito and Chuck first fight? Yeah. Where I saw Chuck knock out Tito. Yeah. And I was like, I want that style, and I want to be able to do that. That's what I want to do with my life.
That was when it was on, like, Spike TV, right?
Yeah, I think it was before Spike TV. It was a pay-per-view.
Cool.
Yeah. You know, we got free pay-per-view for some reason that month, and his fight popped up, and I was like, boom, I want to be the next Chuck Liddell. So, anyway, back to stepping into Factory X. Brian invited me down to take his class. I took his class, fell in love with it, and haven't looked back since.
Wow. So you were just doing everything then? You just walked in, took a kickboxing class, but did you also sign up for jiu-jitsu and do the whole mixed martial arts training?
So when I first came in, honestly, Mark, their head coach down there, sat me down and he was like, all right, let's focus on one thing, get good at that, and then we'll go to the next thing.
Oh, interesting. That's an interesting way to
honestly made me the style that I am today. Like, I honestly owe Mark a lot of credit for the fighter that I became. And
so I assume you decided to be more striking oriented. That was the decision there?
That was a bad idea. That was a horrible idea. Probably should have started with jiu-jitsu first. But no, I started striking and I was like, all right, this is easy. And then it got easier. And then it got easier. And I was like, oh, I can't stop. They're like, let's do jiu-jitsu. I was like, okay, can I do striking too? It's like, yeah, that's fine. And then I strike, do jiu-jitsu, but then strike. And I fell in love with striking so much. Not that I don't love jiu-jitsu.
Sure.
Like, it's all fun. Like, I learned so much, and I'm good at both. It's just I prefer to strike ever since I saw the Chuck Liddell type fight. And so I was like, yeah.
Yeah. So how long did you train before you took your first fight?
I want to say 8 months.
Oh, okay. So not too long. I mean, 8 months in a gym and nothing before that. And you decided to take your first fight. Was that kickboxing or MMA?
So the way it worked out was I was doing 2 or 3 days over at Factory X when I first started. I didn't have a job, so I was like, cool, I could train.
Yeah.
I was training 3 days for 6 days straight for months, for those 8 months. And then Mark came to me. He was like, hey, Oscar is doing a smoker over at Colorado Muay Thai. Do you want in? And I was like, yeah, cool. Let's do it. When? He's like, in December. And I was like, cool. I think we had like 6 weeks or something like that. So I was still doing everything I was doing, 3 days, training. Got hurt, of course. Didn't tell anybody because that's the type of person I am. Walked into the Oscars gym. Was like, cool. Like, we're going with him, and is one of Oscar's boys. So my first fight was a smoker, and fell in love. That was when I knew, like, it was the only time I was ever free. Like, free as a bird.
Yeah.
And then after that, I got offered a fight a week later. I took it, and then Mark was like, nah, it's not a good idea. And then it was called Rocky Mountain Bad Boys and Beatdown at the time. They offered me a fight at 160, and I was like 170 pounds at the time. I was like, cool, little fat kid. I'm like, yeah, let's take it. This is where I got my nickname. This is the fight that fell through when I got my nickname, like we were talking about. So I made weight and everything. Like, I was in the sauna, made 160. We're on our way to weigh-ins. On the way, like, it wasn't like an hours before. Like, I've already got out of the sauna. We were driving to the weigh-ins. The promoter at the time called, I think Chris Camozzi was taking me. Called him and was like, dude's not going to fight Randy. Fight's canceled. So we got to weigh-ins, and we were like, what happened? Stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has an excuse. When stuff gets real, everybody wants out. So, listen to the excuse. It's like, cool. Then I ate the box of Quaker Oats, and, that's the end of that story. So they rescheduled it for like a month later. Same opponent, same everything. This time at 55. And I was like, cool. Made weight. My opponent missed by 10 pounds.
Wow.
He came in at 64, I think. And he's like, what's wrong? And so I remember looking back at Mark being like, are we taking this?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, you're taking it. We're fighting. I was like, okay. And then that was my first time walking out in front of a bunch of people in just shorts and nothing with gloves on and having somebody try to kill me. It was a feeling I won't forget.
Did you enjoy it?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. Not my nose breaking. That was painful.
Damn, nose breaking the second fight, really?
Yeah.
Damn.
I think because he was a big dude. Like, missing weight by 10 pounds, so he had some weight on me, and he was pretty jacked. He hit me with the cross, and my nose shattered. I was like, oh, okay. But, I wobbled him, 6 times and stuff like that. So, won that fight by majority decision.
Nice.
And then after that, we just took off. We were fighting every 2 to 3 months, and
wow,
we didn't take our foot off the gas at all.
And like you said, not really having like a set fight camp. You're just training constantly, just taking fights as they come up, and going after it, getting after it.
Yeah.
Nice. So how many fights did you have as an amateur?
15, I believe.
Oh, okay. So pretty extensive, and they were all MMA?
No.
Other than that,
So what people don't really realize is because they don't count kickboxing fights in Colorado, like you can't see it on anybody's record. I think I have 8 MMA fights and 7 kickboxing fights, or reversed or something like that. Or so
it's a good experience.
It is. Let's see, what was it? 5. Yeah, so I had 6 kickboxing fights before I did my first MMA fight.
Oh wow, okay.
And that was a weird feeling.
Were you training on the ground at the time, or was it primarily kickboxing practice?
So over there, I was doing they have a special schedule for their pro fighters, like Elevation does and everybody.
Right.
But I was striking on Mondays, jiu-jitsu on Tuesdays, wrestling with MMA wrestling on Wednesdays, jiu-jitsu on Thursdays, sparring Fridays, light sparring / striking on Saturdays. But they were also going 2-a-days to where every morning I was striking so I could get that striking in. And this is what I loved. And yeah, so took my first MMA fight after my 6th kickboxing fight.
Nice. And I like that you started at Oscar Smoker, because that's still how a lot of people start. I mean, that was about 8 years ago now, and still people, that's how they get their first experience outside of the gym. And you mentioned that your second fight was really where you got in front of a crowd. But, I mean, that first fight, even at the Smoker, you've got a guy that's actually trying to hurt you, whereas, in the gym, sparring might get real, but it's not quite to that fight level or that intensity with your nerves and anxiety being in the ring with someone across from you.
Yeah, what I meant by that was just at Oscars, you have to wear headgear, shin guards, and 16-ounce gloves. Great experience. It's a new look. Somebody, there's people there, your family comes and your opponent's family come, and it's like a rival, and you can still hear them cheering and stuff. But there's nothing like waiting in the back, getting your hands wrapped, and then you hear your name get dropped, and then your music plays, and you make that walk, and you just look around, and there's people staring, and then you walk in the cage, and you see it shut, and you're just like, oh, boy. What did I get myself into? That was home, and still is home.
Did you know you wanted to be a pro right after that? I mean, did you think this is definitely what I'm doing?
Yeah. Soon after the Oscar fight, where I did the Smoker, that's where I was like, all right, let's see what I could really do with this. And then after my first fight, I didn't feel like I won that fight. I got dropped.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't drop the other kid. My nose got broke. But, Mark talked to me about that. He's like, you got to see the improvements that you made.
Right.
And the growth that you made.
It's hard to see sometimes when you're the person fighting.
Yeah, it broke my heart. Even a win broke my heart.
Yeah.
But after that, I was like, all right. And then I had my my third kickboxing fight. And it was just one-sided. I dominated that fight from start to finish. Didn't finish him. I remember leaving the cage, because this is at the Red and Jerry's, where they used to have all their all the fun fights. Walking up the stairs into their back room and just looking at Mark and Chris at the time, because they were cornering me. I was like, I'm sorry. I didn't finish. I'm sorry. They're like, why are you sorry? You just won. I was so heartbroken that I didn't get to finish.
Yeah. An entertainer from the beginning.
I always wanted to be that Chuck Liddell and that Chris Lieberman at heart. I was like, that's what I wanted to do. I'm like, cool, you can hit me, but I'm gonna try and hit you harder. And then my fourth kickboxing fight was my very first finish. I remember smiling ear to ear when I saw him just lay there, and I was like, this is it. This is what I like to do to people. Yeah. And I'm not even a violent person. That's what people don't understand. I was like, I'm not violent, but if I could flatline you, I'm gonna enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a testament to your skills and your abilities, right? To be able to put someone out when you know, they work just as hard to get here as you have theoretically.
Yeah, like people don't understand that is we're both training.
Right.
Like we both know what we're signing up for. We both put our names on the line. We both have the obligation to make sure that we're going to be at our best. And knowing that somebody's at their best and you're at your best and you start somebody, it's a high that I'll never forget.
I could imagine. That's cool. So that's like your third, fourth kickboxing fight. So you end up with what, 15 amateur fights total?
Yeah.
Okay. So what point was it that you started thinking, you know, it's about time for me to go pro?
My third kickboxing fight?
Yeah.
I was like, let's go pro. Mark's like, hey, let's take it easy. Like, let's get some experience.
Smart guy.
Yeah. There was a point where Marcus Edwards got offered a fight. It was a short notice fight. And I'm the type of person, I was still an amateur at the time. This is when he was fighting for like a higher promotion, like a regional, like almost to the UFC type level. He got offered this opponent. I'm not sure what was happening. He was like hesitant about it or something like that. And I looked at Mark, I was like, I'll take it. Let's go. Like, I'll take that fight right now. Mark's like, easy killer. Like, I've always known that I always want the tough fights.
Yeah.
But, you know, I wanted to go pro earlier than I probably should have.
Sure.
Mark didn't want me to at the time.
I think most people, that's kind of what happens, you know? They just want to go pro.
Because everybody thinks that once you go pro, you're going to start making money and stuff like that. But it's the complete opposite. I wanted to push it. Mark didn't. And so I waited those 15 fights. My last amateur fight was against Max Medorsky for Sparta at the Douglas County Event Center. And I had a bunch of stuff going on in my life at the time. I didn't even want to take the fight. Like, they came to me, and I was like, like, whatever. They're like, it's for a belt. I was still like, like, whatever. I talked to my dad. There was a bunch of, like, stuff going on with him at the time. And he was like, take it. Like, please take it. Like, go do you. Go have fun. So I was just like, whatever. So I took the fight. Didn't really train as much as I should have. And, like, had a bunch of stuff going on in the back of my head. And, like, we're fighting. And it was just stuff like that. So the fight came. And didn't perform like most people would expect me to perform. Came out. Max awkward style. Like, he's like a little, like, I call it the rubber band man. Like, he's always just doing something with his hands. And I saw him skip into a punch one time and punch me square in the face. And I was like, what was that? But anyway, went to the second round. Made a couple adjustments. I think he broke my nose in that fight. Thanks, Max. He broke my nose in that fight. So I felt the blood running down. I remember Don Tias was the referee in that fight. And we were against the cage, pinned, nothing was happening, so he broke us. I wiped my nose to see the blood. Max started skipping in to throw another punch again, so I circled off the cage. By the way, Valor was his coach at the time.
Oh, wow.
Weirdly enough as that is. So Max went to throw a jab to my body, and he's a southpaw. So as soon as I seen his head duck, I brought up the leg and kicked him in the head, knocked him out.
Wow. For a belt?
For a belt.
Nice.
My second belt.
Oh, okay. Your second amateur belt at the time?
Yeah.
Nice.
So I won both of my amateur belts by head kick.
Wow.
Weirdly enough as that is. But yeah, won that fight. Mark came back to his office, or he called me back to his office the week after I got back, so he just taking an off week. He sat me down and he was like, so, what are your thoughts about going pro? I was like, let's fucking do it. He was like, it'd be cool if we get two more fights in. And he saw the disappointment on my face, like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, I just proved I knocked out pretty much everybody that I got to fight. And then he was like, no, I'm just kidding. Next step's to go pro.
Cool.
And I was like, sweet. And then
what does that look like? I mean, what does it look like when you decide to go pro? Are you saying, like, just from here on out, I'm only going to take a pro fight if it comes available? Like, are you what does it mean to go pro necessarily?
What I could tell everybody is nothing changes.
It's
weird. Nothing changed with me. For me, going pro was meaning that I don't have to fight any of the people that I've already fought. Because everybody in my amateur career pretty much got a rematch with me. So I was like, cool, I get fresh people. And I wanted to make a bang out of the gate. Like, let's get somebody that's got some experience and let's roll. And then a couple days later, I get a text message. He's like, hey, do you want to fight for the old PFC, the prior Rock and Rumble card or whatever it is, as an amateur? And it just shot me back down. I'm like, are you kidding me? And he was like, yeah, like, if you want to take it. I'm like, what weight? He's like, can you make 50? And I just got done fighting. I was like, yeah, I guess. Like, I was already like 75.
Sure.
And I had a week to lose it. So I got on the treadmill and stuff like that. I was getting ready to go to the gym that night to cut most of the weight because I still had a week. And he called me. He's like, hey, it's a no-go. Like, it's too risky for you to cut that much weight in this time. So I remember going to that fight because Trevor Massey filled in for that fight. And I fought Trevor twice already. And I beat him both times, even though he's broken my hand both times that we fought. So he knocked out the kid that I was supposed to fight. And I remember texting Mark like, bro, that could have been me. Like, I could have knocked him out. And I remember Mark texted me like, yeah, that could have been you. I wish you would have taken that fight. I'm like, me too. So anyway, time flies by again. And the next Rock and Rumble show was coming up. And I was going to make my pro debut. And they offered me Corey Sandhagen.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, everybody's making Corey all hype and stuff like that. And I'm like, all right, like, I'm the top striker at 45. He was the top striker at 35 at the time. Like, let's go. And I was so excited for that fight. So excited for that fight. And then now that I'm sparring with him, I'm like, oh, thank God we didn't fight. Thank God we didn't fight. It's quick and just awkward angles and just hit you with whatever he wants. It's awesome. But he pulled out with an injury. And then they offered me to fight Eric Grant, which was an old teammate of mine.
Yeah.
That just transferred over to Factory X. So I was like, all right, pro debut, find somebody, because he was from Kansas, I believe, or something. He's from the Midwest. He just came over to Denver, and I was like, cool, let's fight it. Like, he likes to bang. I like to bang. It's a good pro debut. So got to weigh-ins. Actually, it was about midnight because I had 10 pounds to cut for weigh-ins the next day. So at midnight, I got a phone call from my coach, Mark. And I'm just like, that's never good.
Yeah.
Like, you can't call me like 24 hours before weigh-ins with good news. He's like, I got good news and bad news. I was like, what's the good news? He's like, you can eat. And I was like, oh, okay. What's the bad news? He's like, your opponent pulled out again. So I was just like, are you kidding me?
And this is the day before.
The day before. So my pro debut got scratched on that one. Mind you, my last amateur fight was July. The beginning or mid-July. And then my pro debut was supposed to be in November. So there's a layoff there.
Yeah.
Then that fight fell through. So my layoff got pushed back to April.
Which is normal for some people, but you had been used to fighting every 2 months.
With me, is like, if you say you want to fight and we're going to fight and you say, hey, I got a fight lined up.
Yeah.
Like, I'm looking forward to that day. Like, cool. So I was in camp, out of camp, in camp, out of camp, in camp, in camp. It was like 9-month layoff before my pro debut. And I'm the type of person who was like, all right, you want me to remember pro debut? Let's make it, because I already had steamrolling. Like, I was coming off 2 knockout wins. And like,
are you looking for someone specific in your pro debut, or are you just willing to pretty much take anything at that point?
I wanted somebody I wasn't going to fight before, but I also wanted somebody that was going to bring some heat.
Yeah.
Like I do in all my fights now. So anyway, they're like, all right, you and Lugo again.
Ben Lugo?
Yeah, Ben Lugo. You're like, all right, you guys are going to make a pro debut against each other. 3 years prior to that, me and him fought as amateurs.
Oh, wow.
And it was a barn burner.
So not quite getting away from your previous opponents yet.
So it was a barn burner. Like, we about knocked each other out at the first fight. So I was like, all right, I guess I could get hyped up for this one. It's somebody I already fought, but cool.
Sure.
That only lasted 3 minutes. It was like 3 minutes into the fight. He's the only person to finish me.
Oh, wow.
He got me in a head and arm choke. So I was like, all right. My next fight, they're like, all right, you can fight Jake Mendez, for his pro debut, I think. And I was like, that was my very first amateur MMA fight. Like, why am I just giving everybody rematches now? So fought him, beat him. They were like, I was like, all right, I'm sick of this MMA stuff. Like, everybody's shooting on me. Everybody wants to try and take me down. Let's go back to kickboxing. So called Jeff. I was like, Jeff, like, talked to Mark and Jeff. I was like, all right.
Jeff, the head of Sparta.
Yeah. Jeff Caycedo. I was like, all right, let's go back to kickboxing. They set me up with an opponent, and I was like, cool. I signed my contract. They're like, cool. He dropped out. My original opponent dropped out like 6 weeks before. So Jeff called me, and he was like, who do you want to fight? And me being stupid and young and trying to think of the toughest names I could possibly think of, I was like, give me with Joey Banks.
Nice.
That was a mistake. I remember during that fight, I can remember looking across and being like, there's a whole nother level to this. Like, there's levels to this.
Yeah.
He was so calm. And, like, I was calm, but he was calm but explosive calm. And I just remember looking at him like, oh, man, this is not going to be fun. And he came out firing. I've never had somebody come out like that before on me, especially as an amateur.
Yeah.
And then fighting somebody that's actually a vet is a pro.
Right.
I just remember him just blasting me, and I was like, okay, well, this isn't going to be fun now, is it? I was like, all right. Got out because he dropped me.
Right.
Got up, I was like, all right. Can't get much worse than this. And I was wrong. The dude hit me with a spinning back elbow, and then he did a helicopter kick, and then he was pretty much landing whatever he wanted.
Wow.
If he wanted me to move left, I moved left for him. If he wanted me to move right, I moved right for him. Like, he was on point. It didn't help matters leading up to that fight. I was, like I said, I was arrogant. I was cocky. Yeah. Like, cool, I just got to knocking out somebody. Like, right. I've been in the game long enough. So I was like, Joey hasn't fought in a while. So on social media, I was like, come watch me knock out Joey Banks, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And he came out hot that night and shattered my nose in 3 places with just a jab.
But you did end up finishing him.
I did end up finishing him. It was a win, but wasn't a win at the same time.
Pyrrhic victory.
Yeah. I remember watching the comments on some of the posts that were posted about it. And I'm just like, ow, people are heartless. Like, I got dropped twice. Like, he was beating my ass the entire 2.5. Well, pros. Like 3.5 minutes the fight was going on because professional kickboxing fights for 3 minutes.
Right.
And he was whooping me. He was beating me like I owed him money and I didn't pay him, and he was just beating me up. I just remember going on the internet and just seeing people's comments like, oh, it was just a lucky elbow or a phantom elbow and stuff like that.
Still got to survive to be able to land it. Survive, be clear-headed enough and thinking enough to throw it and land it.
I just remember during that fight where I started realizing that, all right, like, I do belong here.
Yeah.
Is when I stopped thinking.
Sure.
Like, my nose was bleeding, my eyes were running, like there was tears in them because the bone got stuck somewhere and it started making my eyes water.
Oof.
And then I remember sitting down on the stool between rounds, and Mark was looking at me, telling me stuff. He was like, that's all he's got. You can handle it. And I was like, no, I can't do that anymore. Like, it hurts. He's like, no, you can do this. I remember being like, all right, YOLO. Like, and then, like I said, I wanted to quit in that fight. There's no joke. I've told many people this. I was like,
It's cool that you're that self-aware. Yeah.
I was like, I almost on the bench. I was like, Mark, I was almost told him like, stop it. Like, I don't want to go back out there. I remember the second round started. He came out just like he did in the first, trying to knock my head off. He caught me with a back-spinning back fist that I still hear about today because everybody likes to make fun of it. Like, caught me. I remember bouncing off the cage and just dropping. And I remember looking over at my corner, and I had Mark, Brian Camozzi, and Ian Heinisch all in my corner at the time. And I just remember seeing Mark's face, and it looked like he was disappointed. Like, oh, this isn't supposed to be happening. So I remember saying that. I was like, my mind was saying no, like, stop, like, just stay down. But my body and my heart was like, no. Like, we're getting back up. And I just remember picking myself back up, looking across like, all right, like, if you do this again, cool. If not, that's fine. But it's time for me to start doing something. And then he started throwing stuff at me, and I was like, nah, it's not going to happen anymore. And then I started coming back, and it was a fire fight, and just a banger. And
Yeah.
I love fights like that, even though they hurt.
It's the sign of a warrior, right?
That's
just getting up when you don't want to.
That's what they say. Or it's just stupidity, either one. But
maybe it's a little bit of both.
Sadly. I wish I was smart, but,
So I mean, you end up, like you said, you did end up winning that fight. You landed the elbow, you finished him. So I mean, at that point, when you're going back to the locker room after that type of fight, where you felt like, your own words that he was beating you up for the majority of the fight. I mean, what do you think? Like, are you thinking like I'm still like I just proved myself, or are you doubting yourself at that point?
I proved myself that I belong where I want to be.
Yeah.
I belong at that next level.
Yeah.
Like, I just got done beating a vet, even though, yeah, he beat me up for most of the fight, but I still stuck around. I was still landing stuff that I wanted to land and stuff like that. And, it was a real reliever knowing that I could compete at the next level. Because, what I like to say is that you're amateur. You got your starting out, like, I think of it like baseball. You got your A, double A, triple A, and then you're in the majors. So, single A would be local regions.
Right.
Double A would be, how did I think about it? Yeah, double A would be like regional, like traveling from town to town. Then you got the LFA and stuff for your triple A. And then when you make the majors, you're in the UFC, ONE, Bellator, stuff like that. So, knowing that Joey was around for a long time and everybody knew who he was, and I ended up beating him, I was like, all right, I can compete against somebody that has been in the sport for a while, competing at a high level against some tough guys. And, I was like, cool. Like, it relaxed me, but at the same time, it tensed me up more because now I was like, all right, who's the next person I could fight?
Yeah.
Like, what's the other big name that I could get out? And yeah.
But you decided to go back to MMA at that point. I mean, even though you were successful in your first Muay Thai fight, you decided MMA is really the path here.
I'm not sure how that happened. So I'm pretty sure I want to go back to kickboxing.
Yeah.
Because it was so much fun. But, I know what happened. So after that fight, after I won, my nose was bleeding, whatever, I remember Justin Gonzalez was in the building at the time, and he said that he was coming down to 145 pounds after being 155 pounds his all amateur career. So I was like, all right, this is my shot. Like, he has a big name. Like, I have nothing but respect for Justin. I was like, cool. He wants to come down to my division. I just got done beating the vet.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, let's go. So I was calling for that fight. And then that fight didn't happen, which sucks because it would have been a good fight.
But it would have been in MMA, so that kind of brought your orientation back to MMA.
Yeah, it brought me back to MMA, which was cool. I like doing both.
Yeah.
If you've ever watched me fight, 99% of my MMA fights are all kickboxing with 4-ounce gloves until they shoot. But, yeah, and then there were some opponents that were out throwing at me, and none of them stuck. And that's when I got involved with Fierce Fighting out in Utah.
Nice. And then they were able to keep you busy at least over the last, 5 fights since then?
So I fought for them in January. I think it was 2017.
Okay.
Fought for them in January 2017. I was like, cool. Like, it was a short notice fight at 55. I was like, cool, let's do it. Against a boxer / banger. He wanted to try and knock me out, which I'm always down for. That's all. If you ever want me to fight, just be like, this date, this weight, and I'll be there. So I was like, cool, whatever. Didn't look him up or anything. Fought him, knocked him out. Went to Ohio, because one of my good friends, Brian Rogers, was fighting out there locally. If you guys don't know who Brian Rogers is, the Bellator vet. Looks like that.
He's a killer.
Yeah. He was fighting for the first time back in his hometown in Ohio for a long, long time. And he's like, come out with me and stuff like that. So I was like, cool. That's where I fell in love with Ohio. But anyway, I got a phone call when I was out there from Mark. He was like, hey, let's fight so-and-so in April. And I was like, no. It was the first time I've ever said no to a fight. I was like, no, I don't want that fight.
What made you say no?
His record.
Yeah.
He had 1 pro fight and 6 amateur fights or something like that. And in my mind, I was like, cool. I just got done fighting Ben Lugo, who at the time had just as many fights as I had as an amateur, which was like 15, 16, I think he had. And then I fought Jake Mendez. At the time, had 10 fights.
So you just felt you were above this?
I don't want to say that, but yeah, I was like. And then I fought Joey Banks, who had a shitload of fights.
Yeah.
And then the dude I fought out in Utah had 14 pro fights.
So you just felt like you had nothing to gain from taking this fight, essentially.
So, yeah, as soon as he offered me, I was like, no, like, I want somebody with records, like, tough opponents.
Right.
So, either way, I got convinced into taking this fight. So I was like, whatever. I didn't train for it or anything. I was just like, fuck it, like, this dude 1-0, trying to talk shit to me, like, whatever. Like, I don't really need to train that hard for this fight. Lost that fight. That hurt. That stung a little bit.
Yeah, I could imagine.
And then I got sidelined for a while. Not by choice, but somebody's choice.
Sure.
Sidelined me. And then Utah was doing or FFC, Fierce Fighting, was doing their 155-pound tournament to determine the champion. And I think it was like $12,000. And
oh, wow.
As soon as I saw 55 and
wow.
fights, I was like, yeah. And then the money, I was like, cool.
Yeah.
So I asked my manager at the time, I was like, hey, like, let's set this up. So they were like, yeah. The first okay I've gotten in, I think it was like 1.5 years from fighting. Like, I was off for a little over 1 year, and then I started trying to take fights. So again, they came to me. I was like, yeah. So I got to fight Nate Kersley for the first round of the tournament. My first main event at 55, and again, this kid, tough as nails. I want to say D1 or D2 wrestler. I didn't know this coming in. Like I said, I don't look people up. People try and tell, like, everybody's like, oh, you're going to beat him. Like, you just outstrike him. I'm like, whatever. Sure. Like, I was training hard. Didn't look anything up. And, man, that whole thing I was telling you about timing and game speed.
Right.
And they say ring rest isn't real. It's a little different when you actually get in there after 1.5 years layoff.
Sure.
I remember coming out, I threw a kick, he caught it, and he just cracked me, dropped me. And I was like, oh, this sucks. And then I thought he was hammer fisting me on the side of the head. Turned out he was bouncing my head off the mat, like in basketball, with his elbow.
Oh, jeez.
And I just remember looking up like, oh, all right, well, now we're fighting. And we're getting back up. Like, me and Nate are close friends now. Like, it's weird how that happens.
Yeah.
Close friends, like, but, I got back up, tried knocking him out. If I would have had maybe another 30 seconds left in the round, I probably would have finished that fight. Because I got up, circled, kneed him in the face. He stumbled, and I went to go throw like a 2-3, and the bell went off. And I was son of a. So the rest of that fight, he was wrestling me, and I was trying to elbow him in the face, and, crowd was going wild and stuff like that. Tough fight.
Yeah.
So, anyway, lost that fight, bummed me out, and I was like, all right, we need to find something quick. So
just to get back in there's the idea, bounce back.
Yeah, so I take losses harder than anybody.
Sure.
Like, it legitimately shatters me. Like, a close relative would, like, pass away type crush me. Like, I just get depressed. And the best way to do that for me is if I get back in there.
Absolutely.
So my manager called me. I was driving someplace.
When did you first get a manager?
First pro fight, actually.
Oh, okay.
So my old manager was B. Rogers, Brian Rogers' manager at the time, and we met at one of his fights. And I was still an amateur at the time, so I really didn't need a manager. But we created a relationship. and like we became friends and stuff like that. So as soon as I was like saw my first pro fight come, I was like, hey, like, would you mind helping me with this stuff? And he was like, yeah, no problem.
And he helps with like the contract negotiation or whatever.
Yeah. So I didn't have to do any of that. Just, like I said, I'm the type of individual that if you just email me over a contract, I'm gonna print it out, sign it, and send it back without even reading it.
Sure.
So I was driving someplace, and he was like, I got a fight lined up for you. And I was like, cool. Like, where? He was like, you're going home. I was like, no way. Like, you really, really got me a fight out there. So
where's home for you?
What people don't realize is that home for me is Vegas.
Okay, cool.
I love Vegas. Been going there since I was 14. So as soon as he said, you get to go home, and I was already had the pin in my hand, like, just send me the contract. Like, just sign it and send it. Didn't even look at it. Didn't even look at the opponent. Didn't even look at what weight I was fighting at.
And this is your 4th or 5th fight?
This would be my, see a logo, Mendez, Banks. Yeah, my 5th.
Okay.
My 5th pro fight.
Cool.
And yeah, like, I didn't even look at it. Didn't even see what medicals I needed. Didn't even see how much I was getting paid. Didn't see anything. I just saw Vegas, this date, sign here. And I was signed it, send it off. And it was like 2 weeks after I sent it, and the fight was already confirmed. I finally looked at the contract, and I saw the medicals I had to do. I had to do a brain scan.
Oh, wow.
I had to have eye specialists look at my eyes, stuff like that. It was like, it cost me about $3,000 in medicals just to be able to fight out there.
Jeez.
Well, and I was just like, all right, whatever. I get to go home. And then I saw how much I was getting paid, and I was like, I made more my first fight than I did on this fight. But then again, I got to go home.
Yeah.
So like it was like push pull. Like I remember texting couple people and talking to my dad. I'm like, I'm paying $3,000 in medicals, but I'm only getting paid so and so.
It's like fighting like an amateur.
Yeah. Like, how am I losing money on this one? And honestly, I wouldn't change it. Like I love Vegas so much, and not many people could say that they get to fight in Vegas.
That's true.
As a pro.
Right.
That is. So anyway, I didn't care at the point anymore. Like, it was cool. It was 145 pounds. I thought I was fighting at 55, and I had 6 weeks to lose 30 pounds. I was like, all right, whatever. Another rough cut, fought, and you could tell because there's pictures of the relief that I had. Like, the world just off my shoulders.
When you make weight?
No, this is after the fight.
Oh, after the fight. So
we fought. Again, for some reason, me getting dropped is a thing in these fights. I got dropped. He was trying to finish me. I was moving. The ref was on top, like, hey, you got to move. I was moving. He started getting tired. So he dropped down for a double heel hook, which is weird. I even looked, because we were in my corner. I looked, I'm like, what is he doing? Like, is this really happening right now? It's like, yeah, just get up. Got up, hit him a couple times, kneed him in the liver, but ref called it a groin shot. Even though the commission after was like, yeah, that was all in the liver. I was like, yeah, whatever. So he got his 5 minutes. And the way that he came out me like Joey Banks did, like just hard and aggressive, like when the fight started. So I was like, oh, I don't want this again. So as soon as that 5 minutes was up and I saw him like wobble and like he was tired, I was like, over. So I knocked him out. And then there's pictures of me just like in the center of the cage, just like the world has been lifted off my shoulders, because I've been telling people for so long, this is my home, that I wanted to fight here. Like, come. Like,
yeah. That's gotta be a great feeling.
It was a great feeling, but at the same time, it was not fun because I didn't perform the way I wanted to perform.
Sure.
So yeah, and then after that, I think my next 5 fights have been for Fierce.
Yeah, and you've won 2 of your last 3 going into this one, February 15th.
Yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. 2 of your last 3, and then you get this shot, and this is going to be at lightweight against this guy coming down. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a big opportunity to kind of showcase your skills again on a big arena. You're in literally an arena.
Yeah.
And first all-pro card, like you said, for Fierce. I mean, it's a potential showcase fight that could get you to that next level, or that next promotion that you have eyes on, like the LFA.
Yeah.
So I mean, when you first started out your career, your goal was essentially to be a prize fighter, go figure out how to do it and be a pro. What would you say your goal is now? How has that evolved over time? Now that you're 25 fights into your career, working on your 10th pro fight, what does it look like now for you? What as far as goals?
Back when I first started, I wanted that spotlight.
Yeah.
Like I wanted the money, I wanted the fame. Like, oh my god, like has that struck the dough? That struck the dough? Like, oh, I want to be him. And then I got older, and I realized it's not what everybody thinks it is. Like, you got to stay humbled. You got to stay hungry. Like, you can't want the fame. You can't want the money because that's gonna take time to get. For me, after I realized that it's never been about the money. That's why I'm still taking fights that most people would be like, no, sure, I'm good. Like, you need to pay me more. I'm just like, no, whatever. It's not about the fame either. Like, I'm not the one that's always bragging like, oh yeah, I'm a fighter, like stuff like that. Me, it's just my goal is in the long run, of course, to make it big in the UFC or ONE or Bellator. Fight at that level, but
PFL, get that $1 million check.
Yeah, PFL. Oof. I don't know how they would like to fight those 2 times in one day. Just to
That's true.
Like, but it's to create a legacy. I want my legacy to be like Donald's legacy or Gaethje's legacy, where people are gonna look at it and be like, "Oh, this name's on this card. Oh, we gotta go. Like, we gotta go. We gotta watch. Like, this dude comes firing." And I want that in all aspects of life. Like, I don't want anybody to be like, "Oh, like him as a fighter, amazing." I'm like in real life too. Like, yep. If we're gonna do something, we're gonna do something. Like, it's gonna be all out. Like, I don't care about money anymore. I don't care about the fame. Like, it's just about having fun now and just chasing dreams and getting goals and having fun along the way.
Yeah.
I had one of the biggest compliments I've gotten so far in my career, other than being like, oh, you got heart and stuff like that, is my last fight out in Utah was the very first fight that Valor got to come with us. This was the first fight out of Factory X and with Easton, and Valor got to come with me. And he just sat there, and he was just, because it was me and Lockhart, and the way that I like to do is just, we just have fun.
Yeah. Like,
if you want to talk shit, let's talk shit. Like, if you want to bag on somebody, bag on somebody. This is never a serious moment. It can't be. Life's too short for that. So anyway, as soon as the fight ended, stuff like that, Valor was pissed off because some bullshit. It was whatever. But on the way back to our hotel, I was just like, guys, like, I know it didn't happen the way we wanted it, but just enjoy it now. Like, just enjoy our time now.
Yeah.
I'm not bleeding. It didn't look like I was in a fight. Like, it was kind of stupid, but
jiu-jitsu match.
Yeah, I was hitting him harder when he was on my back than he was when he was on my back. So funny the story is Lockhart's gonna make fun of me. He always does about this. So he was on my back. He had me in the backpack, and his head was on the right side of my head, or left side of my head. So I held his head there, and I started punching him as hard as I could. Whoa! He moved his head, which meant my head was posted on his head, so my head couldn't move. His head couldn't move, but he backed it out and moved his head, so my head slid it right where his head was as I went to swing. Cracked myself right in the eye. There's a picture. The only punch that I got hit with in that fight was right in the forehead. And you could see that my eye was swollen. And I look at that picture, I'm like,
that's pretty funny.
That's on me. That's on me.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to what I was saying is, so we were having fun that entire trip. And everybody flew back. Everybody got home safe. And Valor texted me, and he was like, bro, I'm proud of you. But that was one of the funnest trips I've ever gotten to be a part of. Like, just the way that you guys are, how your family is it's one of the funnest trips that I've ever gotten to take with a fighter.
Yeah.
And to me, that was the biggest compliment I've ever had because, yeah, this is serious. This is life. This is what I want to do with my life. But just knowing that I can make people enjoy it with me
right,
is 10 times better than me just doing this all by myself.
yeah, that journey, those experiences along the journey is really what, makes you keep doing it, right?
If you can have at least 20 stories coming back from your trip, then you're just not doing it right.
Yeah.
Everything and anything has to happen, even if it's something small to something huge. Like, it's got to happen.
I love it. Well, you're well on your way to making that legacy. I mean, like I said, 4 pro wins, all by knockout. I mean, you're an entertainer for sure.
I try to be, It's somebody's got to do it. Everybody else wants to just lay and pray and stuff around here. Right. Somebody's got to keep doing it. Somebody's got to follow in the footsteps of Cerrone and Gaethje and Liddell and all those top strikers that just like to bang.
Yeah. Well, you're still in the middle of your career, obviously, but if you had to think back to something that would have been useful for you when you were starting out and, give a tip to a young fighter or young aspiring martial artist, what would you say?
I think the number one thing that I would tell anybody, even my younger self, is don't rush it. You can't rush. You got to take the opportunities you could take, but don't rush your opportunities. Like, don't take a fight against somebody that has way more experience than you. Like I said, when I fought Banks, there was levels to this, and I saw it in that fight. I'm not saying don't go out and challenge yourself. I'm not saying don't take hard fights. But know where you're at, know what you want, and pace yourself. Yeah. I see too many people coming out of the gate just trying to bang. They even said, who was it? Somebody in the UFC. Oh, Darren Till. Even Dana White's like, yeah, I think we pushed him way too fast.
Probably did.
Yeah, don't, just because you get the opportunity doesn't mean you have to take it.
Sure. I think that's good advice.
Even coming from somebody that always says yes to any fight that you bring at me. Like, even I had to say no to a couple fights just because I wasn't going to kill myself to make weight, or I didn't think the matchup was right or something like that. But just pace yourself. Like, there's a small window we have in this.
Right.
But don't make your window even smaller because you're taking dumb fights.
I think that's great advice. Nice. So how can people follow you online? Follow your career?
Weirdly enough, I'm really not that active on social media. I probably should get better at that. But my Instagram, it's I think it was Raro5. Funny story about that. And then Facebook is just Randy Rowland. I think that's it.
Cool. Yeah. Go check him out if you can. Go watch him fight at Fierce Fighting Championship on February 15th. And where is it again? I'm sorry, what is the city?
It's Maverick Center in Salt Lake City.
Salt Lake City, cool. So go check it out, and hopefully you come back with another win and a KO under your resume. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel on YouTube, The Prize Fighting Business. Randy, man, thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
That's fun.